Ever have that feeling where what you really want seems, well, just miles away? Like a distant dream that's just not going to happen,
Oh, absolutely. We all hit those walls, those seemingly impossible situations.
right? But what if the key to bridging that gap, turning the dream into reality, is actually, well, it's about a shift inside you.
Exactly. That's the kind of mind-bending stuff we're getting into in this deep dive.
And today, this one is really tailored for you, our listeners. We're diving deep into a really pivotal moment in Neville Goddard's life.
He was obviously a huge figure in understanding imagination's power. We're looking at how he met his mentor, Abdullah.
Yeah, story Neville himself told in a lecture, wasn't it? July 6th, 1966.
That's the one. And the source you shared has it, the 085 NevilleGoddardBooks.pdf.
And this isn't just some abstract theory, is it? It's a real story set in a very specific, very tough time.
Oh, yeah. New York City, 1933, the Great Depression. It's actually hard for us to picture the scale of hardship back then.
It really sets the scene for Neville's state of mind, I think.
Definitely. Think about it. Massive unemployment. People were sleeping, literally anywhere they could.
He mentioned seeing people in that tunnel, the one going to Gimbel's.
Yes. 3, 4 deep, he said. Using it like a bedroom. Parks were dorms in summer. And the lines. Endless lines for just coffee and bread.
Wow. And the whole U.S. population then was only, what, around 130 million?
Something like that.
Yeah.
That level of economic pain was, well, it was everywhere. It really hit hard.
And Neville himself, he was a dancer.
By trade, yeah. But Broadway was practically dark.
He said maybe 5 shows running on paper compared to the usual 50 or 60.
Exactly. When people can barely eat, who's going to pay for theater tickets?
So no work for him, no money.
None. And he was living in a basement on 75th Street. It's quite a contrast to the speaker he became later.
A huge contrast, because just a few blocks away.
On 72nd Street, yeah, lived Abdullah.
And not in a basement.
No, in a very lovely home, Neville called it, owned by the father of Henry Morgenthau Jr.
Who was Secretary of the Treasury then? Under Roosevelt.
That's the one. A very prominent figure. It really highlights the disparities, doesn't it? Neville struggling, Abdullah living in this well-connected home.
Worlds apart, yet so close physically. Ready for this encounter? Okay, so let's get to that turning point.
Right. So Neville had been in the U.S. for nearly 12 years, since 1922.
And suddenly he gets this powerful urge to go back home to Barbados.
He called it a hungry desire, a haunting desire. It wasn't just a passing thought.
No, it sounds really deep, persistent. But there was one big problem.
The classic problem. No money. That was literally the only thing stopping him, in his view.
So this leads to that conversation with Abdullah, late October 33.
Yeah, Neville basically lays it all out. He says, I've been gone from Barbados almost 12 years. Never wanted to go back. But now I had this hungry, haunting desire. Nothing stops me but a lack of money. I have no money. Very blunt.
Just puts it out there. And Abdullah's response, it's just not what you'd expect, is it?
Not at all. He doesn't give advice, doesn't say save up or anything like that.
He just says,
you are in Barbados. Flat out. Just like that.
Wow, you are in Barbados.
And then tells him, basically, live it. Imagine you're there. See it. Smell it. Feel yourself sleeping in your mother's house in Barbados with America way off to the north.
Okay, I can see why Neville thought he was...
insane. Yeah, Neville admits it.
The clash, standing on 72nd Street, tall buildings, wide sidewalks, and trying to feel Barbados. With its 3-story buildings and narrow streets, no sidewalks, it sounds completely nuts.
It's a total contradiction to physical reality, like being told it's summer when you're freezing in winter.
But Neville, well, he actually tried it, didn't he?
He did. He went home that night, tried to really immerse himself, fall asleep feeling he was in Barbados.
Nothing happened.
Not externally, no. So a week or so passes. It's November now, and he goes back to Abdullah. Says, nothing's changed.
And this is where Abdullah's, let's say, unique teaching style kicks in.
Oh, yeah. He just shuts it down completely, turns his back, walks into his library, closes the door firmly.
And kept doing that.
Apparently. Refused to discuss it. His point was, how could he discuss with me how I am going to Barbados when I am already in Barbados?
Okay, so when we talk about assumption here,
it means really living in the mental reality where your desire is already true. It's done, happened.
So for Abdullah, Neville being in Barbados mentally was the only reality that mattered.
That was it. His principle was, be faithful to the assumption. If you truly assume it, the how is irrelevant. Don't even talk about it.
The desired state in your mind is the fact. Got it.
Okay, so now fast forward a bit. Crucial moment.
It's December 4th.
Right, Neville's still got no job, no money, and the very last boat that could get him to Barbados for Christmas.
Sails on December 6th, only 2 days away.
Logically, hopeless. It looks absolutely impossible.
And then, boom, out of the blue.
A letter arrives from his brother Victor in Barbados.
And the reason for the letter's kind of sweet, actually.
It is. The family had never all been together for Christmas. Big family. Apparently, the oldest brother, Cecil, left home before the younger ones, like Daphne and Joe, were even born. Big age gap.
8 years, he mentioned, yeah.
So Victor writes, inviting Neville. But the contents of the letter.
That's the kicker, isn't it?
Totally. Victor enclosed a draft for $50.
Which was real money back then.
Absolutely. For necessities. You know, a shirt, shoes, whatever. But more importantly...
the ticket.
The ticket. The letter says a ticket to Barbados is waiting for him at the Furness Withy line. The means just appeared.
Wow, talk about unexpected.
Couldn't make it up, could you?
So Neville must have been ecstatic. He rushes down to the shipping line.
Right, and they confirm it. Yep, message received, tickets here. But there's a small catch.
Only third class available.
Only third class. He could use the first class facilities, deck, and all that during the day.
But had to sleep third class until maybe St. Thomas if someone got off.
Exactly. Still, Neville was over the moon, understandably.
So he runs to tell Abdullah the amazing news. Probably expecting a well done or something.
You'd think. But no, Abdullah's dismissive, almost challenges him again.
What did he say?
He goes, who told you that you were going to Barbados? And who told you that you went third class? You went to Barbados and you went first class.
Still holding that line, refusing to accept anything less than the original perfect assumption.
Absolutely. He wouldn't even acknowledge the third class part.
And then, the final twist.
It's quite something. Morning of December 6th, Neville's at the check-in desk, third class ticket in hand.
Ready to board.
And the clerk looks up and says, Mr. Goddard, good news. We've had a cancellation. You're traveling first class.
Unbelievable. Just like Abdullah said.
Exactly. The manifestation was complete. Even better than Neville had hoped for with the third class ticket initially.
So he went first class, stayed 3 months.
Yep. Enjoyed Christmas with the family, the whole thing. Came back 10 days later. And that experience obviously became totally foundational for his teaching. A powerful demo of assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled.
Okay, let's unpack Abdullah's methods a bit more. Neville called it almost insolence, even rudeness. But it wasn't just being nasty, was it? It feels like a deliberate technique.
I think so.
Yeah.
It seems like a strategy to really shake Neville out of his logical, this is how reality works mindset, to force him to rely only on the inner conviction.
It's certainly jarring. What do you think the psychology was there, that directness? You are in Barbados.
Well, I suspect Abdullah knew the logical mind is the biggest hurdle, right? It constantly argues with a reality that isn't physically present yet.
True.
So by being so absolute, refusing to discuss the how, he kind of bypasses that rational argument. He forces Neville back onto the feeling, the inner state, without needing outside proof or getting lost in the practical steps.
That analogy about wanting to be happily married makes sense here?
Yeah, if you just tell someone you are happily married, their first thought is, no, I'm not, based on current facts.
Right.
But Abdullah's point seems to be, okay, but if you were, how would you feel? What would you be thinking? Maybe you'd mentally fiddle with a ring, you know? Act from that state.
And that no such thing as a little pregnancy line.
That really drives it home, doesn't it? Once you've made the assumption, conceived it mentally, you can't keep digging it up to see if it's growing.
Doubt is like a miscarriage, he said.
Exactly. You assume the feeling. That's the conception, the seed. Then you have to let it be, nurture it with belief, protect it from doubt until it's born into your reality. Constantly questioning the how is like trampling the seedling.
So Abdullah refusing to talk about it was basically protecting that seed.
That's how it seems. Protecting Neville's initial feeling from Neville's own doubts.
And Neville kept trying, didn't he? Kept trying to discuss the practicalities.
He did, but Abdullah just stuck to his guns. You are in Barbados. End of discussion. In consciousness, it was already done.
Now, there were other lessons Neville learned from him too, weren't there? Things that show more about Abdullah's whole outlook.
Yeah, some interesting anecdotes, like the one about the brandy and rum Neville brought him.
Oh, right, as gifts.
Yeah, maybe Neville had some idea about how they'd share it or whatever, but Abdullah just drank it quickly. Apparently, teaching Neville not to impose his own expectations on things, just accept.
And Abdullah's own habits seemed a bit contradictory. Rye, ale, then ice cream.
Right. And he told Neville, essentially, you couldn't handle this. It would poison you because you have quibbles.
Quibbles, meaning like mental hang-ups,
Yeah.
judgments.
I think so, yeah. His point seemed to be that limitations mostly come from our own judgments, our own self-imposed rules about what's good or bad, possible or impossible.
He connected it to the Bible, didn't he? Peter's vision.
Yes, in Acts. The sheet with all the unclean animals and the voice saying, slay and eat. What I have cleansed, I have cleansed.
So the idea being God made everything, and it's our judgments that make things seem limited or unclean.
That seems to be the essence. Our quibbles create the problems, the limitations we experience.
That story about him getting orchestra seats as a black man in New York before the civil rights era, that's pretty powerful.
Incredibly powerful. Just walking in, assuming it's possible, demanding it, and getting it.
Yeah.
Pure, unwavering belief in his desired reality, regardless of the external social structures.
And the opera. Parsifal for 5 hours.
Huh. Yeah. Neville was bored stiff, apparently.
But Abdullah was completely absorbed.
Deeply appreciative. It highlights Abdullah's ability to fully immerse himself, perhaps in his inner world as much as the external performance. Maybe seeing something beyond just the surface, which ties back to how he managed his own imaginative reality.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, the big takeaway for everyone listening really comes down to Abdullah's core teaching, right?
Absolutely. That powerful lesson about the nature of reality, demonstrated so vividly by Neville's own experience getting to Barbados. It's all about the power of unwavering assumption.
Assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled.
Exactly. Truly living in that feeling as if it's already here, already a fact. And crucially, not getting tangled up in how it's supposed to happen.
Abdullah's methods might seem, well, harsh or unconventional.
Definitely unconventional, but they seem designed specifically to break Neville's existing thought patterns, his limiting beliefs, and force him to fully embody the reality he wanted in his imagination first.
So that leaves us with a final thought, something for you listening to maybe mull over.
Think about something you desire right now, something close to your heart.
And ask yourself, what would it genuinely feel like if that was already yours? Right now, done.
Yeah, what subtle shifts might happen inside you, in your thoughts, your mood, maybe even small actions you take, if you were really truly living from that place of fulfillment.
It's about reflecting on Abdullah's lesson, isn't it? And maybe seeing how you could start to cultivate that same kind of unwavering belief in the reality of your desires.